Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Masnis, and here are the only 10 skills and the strategy to solve all the SAT math questions which are related to the equivalent equation questions. So let's go over these skills so that you can get a full grades for the SAT equivalent equations. The first skill is for solving linear equations. For example, when we are given such an expression, 2 times x plus 3 equals 7, then we are required to solve the value of x, right? So the solution would be subtract number 3 from the both sides, or we can say that we move the numbers from the left-hand side to the right-hand side to make sure that only the x is left and kept in the left-hand side, right? And then we divide the both sides by number 3. So we get the answer here, x equals 2, right? So the skills of solving linear equations is very important. That is, we simplify our equations and then solve the value of x. For the second skill, we want to combining the like terms when we simplify expression. For example, when we are given such an expression, 3 times x plus 5 minus 2 times x plus 7, right? And we can combine the like terms. That is, we combine the 3 times x with negative 2 times x, right? We combine the numbers of 5 and 7, right? And then we get a simplified expression of x plus 12, right? For the third skill, we can apply the strategy of distributive property, right? That is when we are given the expression like 4 times x plus 3 plus 2, right? We can expand the brackets and apply the distributive property. That is, we use number 4 times all the terms within the brackets. That is 4 times x plus 8, right? This is very useful and important for the equivalent expressions. The first skill is factoring when we are dealing with quadratic expressions, right? For example, when we are given the x times x squared plus 5 times x and plus 6, then we can find the two numbers that multiply to 6 and add to 5, which are the number 2 and the number 3. Then we can factor the quadratic expression to x plus 2 times x plus 3, right? This is very useful for factoring. We need to find the two numbers that multiply to 6 and add to 5. The fifth skill is to understand the property of equality, right? That is when we are given that verb of A equals verb of B, then we can multiply the same value or variable on both sides, right? We can also divide by the same number of value on both sides, or even we can multiply by a third variable or number C, right, on both sides. Then the property of equality keeps satisfied, right? So all the A option, B option, and C option are correct. So all the operations preserve the equality of A and B, right? So this is important for understanding the property of equality. The sixth skill is to manipulate equations. We need to rewrite the form of our equivalent expressions, right? When we are given the equation like 3 times x minus 2 times y equals 6, and we want to solve the value of y in terms of x. That is, we use terms of x to write the y, to represent the y, right? So we want to subtract or move the term of 3 times x from the both sides, right? So we get negative 2 times y equal to negative 3 times x plus 6. That is, we make sure that only the y are left on the left-hand side, right? And then we divide both sides by negative 2, we get a value of y in terms of x. So this is very important and useful for rewriting the forms of expressions. The seventh skill is to understand the equivalent forms, right? So when we are given the expressions like x plus 2 squared, then we want to expand the the square terms, right? So we can write down the equation and rewrite the equation to x squared plus 2 times 2x and plus the number 2 square, right? That is x squared plus 4 times x plus 4, right? So please memorize the equation of equivalent forms. That is how to expand the square terms of the other variables, right? And the eighth skill is substitution, right? When we are given the function of x, which equals x squared minus 3 times x plus 2, then we are required to calculate the f4, right? The solution is to plug the number 4 into the expression on the right-hand side, right? That is, we calculate the number 4 squared minus 3 times 4 and plus 2, right? And then we get a value of x4, which is 6. The next skill is to work with rational expressions, right? We want to simplify the expressions like x squared minus 9 divided by x minus 3, right? We know that we can rewrite the numerator to x minus 2 times x plus 2, right? And then we can cancel the same terms of x minus 3 for the numerator and the denominator, right? So we get the answer of x plus 3, right? The last skill is to recognize the identities. So we need to memorize which identity is represented by a squared minus b squared. That is, it always equals to a minus b times a plus b, right? This is called the difference of squares of identity, right? So when we are given the terms and the expressions of a squared minus b squared, we can always rewrite and simplify it as a minus b times a plus b. This is very useful for solving the equivalent equation questions for the official SAT math questions. All right. So if you master all these 10 skills, you can solve all the SAT math questions for the equivalent equation questions. Thank you guys, and see you in my next video.